On today's show, we're going to be talking about retro game preservation. Atari is doing their bit. What about everybody else? And also other tidbits floating around the internet. And we're going to be talking about that right now. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Dadisajoke Retro Rockin' Gamer episode 57 of the Weekend Report. And we got some really interesting things to talk about today. But first off, let's do some news. Now, there's not a ton of news out there, but there's some stuff that people should be aware of. Let's see here. Atari 50 released their first DLC not too long ago. Now they just released a second DLC called The First Console War. And for you folks who lived through it, you know exactly what it is. All the Intellivision games and the Atari games that competed against each other. And it was brutal back then. You think the Xbox PS5 thing is brutal? This was even worse. And you know what? It's funny that when Atari and Intellivision were competing with each other, and Mattel being the parent company of Intellivision, you know what? Barbie almost went bankrupt trying to fight Atari. You know, when you have a company focused like Atari on video games, and then you have Intellivision made by a toy company, and they have a whole bunch of other resources, products that they sell, it's a big deal when Atari almost drove them to bankruptcy. Okay? You just don't do that. And it happened. And the same thing with Coleco. Coleco had a superior machine, but again, they got their butts handed to them by Atari. Atari was the first out. Atari was the most popular. Atari had the most games, and Atari had third-party developers for it. I mean, so did ColecoVision at the end of its cycle. Same thing with Intellivision, but Atari just had it, plain and simple. Actually, a cool game that a lot of people with the Atari VCS are looking forward to is a game called Spirit of the Samurai. If you haven't seen any clips of this game, do a search on YouTube and search out Spirit of the Samurai, and you'll see how cool this game is. A lot of people are looking forward to this game who own the VCS, but also the game's produced for multi-platform, and I think there's a demo available on Steam. Don't quote me on that, just take a look. Let's see here. Yars Rising. Yars Rising is becoming this big giant. I'm having a blast playing the game. I think it's a great platformer game. It's fun. I mean, what can I tell you? It's a fun game. The Spirit of the Sun. Oh no, wait. Yars Rising. The comic has been released actually. So if you really like the game and you want to check out some backstories and stuff like that, check out, the comic book, and it's been released. It's in your comic book stores now. Alan 1. Oh, these guys are the freaking coolest people on the planet. So Alan 1, let's see here, is actually, they're shipping Asteroids Recharged in cabinet form. And I guess they're shipping it to collectors or what have you. But what I'm hoping, there's a lot of arcade operators that are ordering it too. For instance, Dave and Buster's, any of those sort of, video game / entertainment complexes, party places, whatever. And I would love to see more of those games appear there. Yeah, it's great to see collectors have them, but at the same time, it's got to go into the arcades. I think arcades are starting to get popular. I mean, it's been way too long that people have been playing video games behind their screen, right? And not really interacting with people. And when you go to an arcade, you interact with people. You watch other people play. I mean, back then, there was no Twitch. We watched people play. Ooh, wow, that's cool. How'd you do that? Blah, blah, blah. Right? Usually you couldn't talk to them because they were too busy concentrating. But the point is that that needs to come back. There needs to be that sort of people connection that we've been missing for so many years, really. So yeah, so they're shipping out Asteroids Recharge, which I think is amazing, and also Alan One has their esports setup where you can sign up and you can keep track of your scores, what have you. One of the games that they put out for the Atari VCS is Avian Knights, which is a really cool modern version of Joust, but it's just way more than Joust. And if you want to see my scores on that game, just look under DAD for Dad, and my scores suck, so you'll probably laugh. But that's cool. So that situation has been put um, into the Asteroids Recharge cabinet, and having that cabinet connected to the internet allows you to compete worldwide with people playing the game somewhere else on the other corner of the planet, which makes it very cool. I mean, that's awesome. Imagine back in the day, you got Pac-Man, you got the high score, it'd be downloaded to a database, and you can check that database to see how well you did compared to others across the world. That's cool. That's awesome. What else is there? Oh, Tetris Forever has been released by Digital Eclipse, owned by Atari. So not only did they do the second DLC for Atari 50, they released Tetris Forever, available on all platforms except for the Atari VCS. Let me get back to that a little bit here. It's frustrating to see that not so many games have been released on the Atari VCS lately. It's getting frustrating for me. I'm getting a little bit scared that they're trying to avoid the platform. Um, so I'm hoping they will port these games over eventually, or do something, anything right now. I just want to see more games produced by Atari for the Atari VCS, plain and simple. Uh, so I think that's it for the news today. Oh, anyway, with Tetris Forever, I mean, again, it's Digital Eclipse, so they made it like a museum tour of Tetris, and you get to play all the various different versions that Tetris was created, or on different systems that it was created for. So that's really cool, and the different aspects of it, blah blah blah. So if you're a huge Tetris fan, get this. Now, segueing into what we wanted to talk, what we talked at the head of the video was retro video game preservation, which I think is super important. But it's not just up to us users, gamers to do this. I mean, Digital Eclipse has done it the right way with Atari's help and doing the Atari 50 game. So not only is it all the games that have been highlighted in that game, if you want to call that, but also the museum aspect where you see videos about the developers talking about the games or the issues that they had, or just different things, or just good times producing these games. That, I think, is the most important. That's what retro video game preservation needs to be. Now, Atari is doing it, Nintendo is doing it with all their minis, and also all the different ports that they made for the Switch and what have you. Other companies have to resurrect their retro video games, and they need to produce sort of like a museum type of thing. Fine, like who was it? Not Konami. Shit. Okay, if see what happens when you do these things early in the morning? Think you just forget. Namco, there we go. Namco has their what's it called? The Namco Museum, where all their games are together in one spot. But that's cool. Don't get me wrong. But wouldn't Namco just grab a video camera, talk to the old developers? If they're not around, have somebody who's an expert to talk about that. I mean, I would love to see a video of some not well a video game with videos with the Dig Dug developer or the guys who created Pole Position and what they went through to get that. Pole position being one of the first driving games out there with a steering wheel, shifter, and a pedal. I mean, back then, your mind blew up when you saw that and how good the graphics were and how fun the game was. So they need to do that. Exvius, another game by them. Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, blah, blah, blah. I can go on forever, right? They need to do stuff like that. There's so many other companies out there, even some of the defunct ones. I'm hoping that somebody who has purchased the rights to the purchase the rights to those games to create something like that, or have a company buy the rights to those games and do something like. We need to preserve this. I mean, the stuff we're talking about here, all these games, this was the beginning of video games. I mean, a lot of the kids don't understand what started back in the late 70s to what it is now for like Call of Duty and whatever. That early, shouldn't be doing that, should I? The early 70s thing is what created all this. And that's important. And that has to be preserved. That has to be preserved in all its glory. It's important. A lot of people, developers sweating to, coffee time, hold on. A lot, what's it called? We need to preserve this information, and it's important. Just because of the historical reference to it and how, modern gaming began and how it went and how it all started. That has to be done. Just buying an old what's it called, console, buying the cartridges for it and hooking it up to a CRT is not video game preservation. And that's just your collection, really, which is cool, but we need somebody to get involved and do this. There's so much stuff. Konami, Namco, like all the Japanese companies, except for Nintendo and Sega, obviously, who are still pumping stuff out. But even I was going to say Sega, but I mean, like the game Zaxxon. That game blew my mind when I saw it in the arcade, the isometric 3D. I mean, that was incredible. I want to know what went into the development of that game. How hard was it? Whose idea was it? I'd like to see videos about this stuff, and I think it's important. And it's important for, kids now to us old farts back then. I think they should be they should be doing that. Let's see. Oh, also, I do want to announce, and I'm working up to this. It's just I need to find fucking time to do this. I've been putting out a lot of videos of gameplay of arcade games and stuff like that. Realistically, that's just been sort of an experiment because it's really hard, like with the arcade machine back there that I have my Raspberry Pi hooked up to, what's it called, a capture device where I can capture stuff on an SD card, bring it here to this machine, edit it, and put it out. But this time, I put on RetroBat on my Windows machine, took all the ROMs that I had. Actually, all the ROMs that are on that are on this machine, so I just pointed to the directories there, got it all up and running, tested some stuff with OBS so I can stream it live. So, folks, let me know, because I mean, I'm doing it for myself, but I also want to do it for you too. Let me know what day or time you have available, and put it in the comments so I can pick a date and I can stick to it. So, every Friday at 8 o'clock p.m., every Friday, every Saturday, whatever. We'll play an arcade game, an Atari game, a television game, and just you can watch me do this live. Ask questions, make fun of me, whatever. I'm all cool with that shit. So let me know. Put it in the comments. If you're really interested, let me know, please. It's important because I want to be able to do this properly and also be able to have people watching, really. And I think that's it. Anyways, folks, that's it for now. Now, don't forget to add to your Christmas list the Atari 7800 Plus that's coming out. There's a whole bunch of equipment coming out for it. There's also wireless controllers for it. Imagine that. An 80s style console with a wireless controller. So you're not, you don't have to sit in front of the TV back in the day with a short cable going blind from it and getting yelled at by your parents. Anyway, that's it, folks. Take care. This is Dadisajoke, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye now.